Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a massive shift happening in UK healthcare right now. We're going to get into the hidden mechanics of how private clinics are turning these record NHS waiting lists into a multi-billion-pound market. And they're using a science that looks less like old-school advertising and, well, a lot more like a clinical discipline. Okay, let's get into it. So, let's start with this number, 7.29 million. Look, this is not just a statistic. This is the number of patients on an NHS waiting list. But it's more than that. It really represents a fundamental break in the UK's entire relationship with healthcare. And honestly, it's the catalyst for everything we're about to talk about. And that break, it's more like a fracture, a deep one. It's created the perfect conditions for a complete revolution in private care. See, on one side, you've got this massive, unprecedented demand from an aging population, and on the other, you've got the stark reality of those record-breaking NHS waits. It's a collision course. This crisis has created an entirely new and, frankly, fiercely competitive market. For private clinics, this isn't just some passing trend, it's a seismic opportunity for growth. But it's only for those who understand the new rules of the game. What we're seeing here is a perfect storm created by three powerful forces all hitting at once. First, you've got that aging population driving huge demand for services like hip replacements, cardiology, you name it. At the exact same time, the NHS supply chain is just collapsing under the weight of that 7.29 million person backlog. So what's the government's response? To pump billions, and I mean billions, into the private sector just to buy up capacity. It is literally the perfect storm. So who exactly is looking for this private care? Now, if you're picturing some wealthy executive getting a convenient checkup, you need to think again. That stereotype, it's officially outdated. A completely new type of patient is now front and center. The fastest growing group of private patients is now over 50. And this is the crucial part. 70% of them are highly connected. They're comfortable using digital tools to find the solutions they need. And get this, they aren't driven by convenience. No, they're driven by urgent medical need and a quality of life that is actively getting worse. And this new patient, they follow a very specific path. It all starts with that urgent need. They just can't wait a year for a new hip. So what do? They go online and they start doing deep, specific research. They're hunting for critical trust signals, like official ratings from the Care Quality Commission. That's the CQC, the independent regulator for health services in England. But after all that digital digging, they still want the reassurance of a real human voice on the phone to make that final decision. This quote here from Angelo at UpMedico absolutely nails it. This isn't just about a few more older patients popping up. No. This is a total rewrite of the rulebook. It demands a relentless focus on building and proving your trustworthiness at every single step. Okay, so how on earth do you reach this new patient? Well, this shift demands a completely new marketing approach. To connect with them, clinics are ditching the old, broad, generic advertising. Instead, they're adopting a new model, one of surgical precision. They're using what the source material calls a digital scalpel. You can see the change so clearly in how people search online. The old way was a pretty general query, something like private doctor near me. The new way? It's hyper-specific. People are now searching for things like self-pay cataract surgery cost or private hip replacement wait times London. They already know exactly what they need. They're shopping for the fastest, safest provider to give it to them. And right here is where things get really futuristic. With AI now dominating search results, a new strategy is emerging called generative engine optimization, or GEO. The goal isn't just to rank on a results page anymore, it's to be the direct authoritative answer that the AI serves up to a patient. Think about it. If your clinic's wait times and expertise aren't fed into these AI summaries, you're basically invisible. So this is the key takeaway. Marketing budgets are now being used with clinical accuracy. Campaigns are laser-focused on specific procedures where a clinic actually has capacity. They create totally different ads for patients paying for themselves versus those using their NHS right-to-choose options. They can even target ads to specific regions where they know NHS wait times are the longest, positioning themselves as the immediate solution to that local problem. But hey, finding the right patient is only half the battle. This is where we get to what the source material calls the single most dangerous mistake clinics make. They're measuring the wrong things. So let me ask you, what does a successful marketing campaign actually look like? Is it just getting your clinic's name in front of thousands of people? Or maybe it's a ton of clicks on your website? What do you think?
Well, for a lot of clinics, the answer is just wrong. They're focused on what are called vanity metrics, things like impressions and clicks. But you have to be blunt about it. Impressions don't fill operating theaters, and clicks definitely don't pay your nursing staff.
This is the new baseline for success. It means tracking the entire patient journey, from the exact search term they typed into Google to the ad they clicked, all the way through to an attended appointment and, crucially, the final invoiced revenue. If a £5,000 ad campaign doesn't lead to a measurable £25,000 in booked procedures, it's considered a failure. Simple as that. Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. What does this highly efficient, totally data-driven world of healthcare marketing actually mean for patients and for the wider market? Well, this scientific approach is incredibly adaptable. For acute medical care, the stuff driven by those long NHS waits, the marketing focus is all about speed, safety, and trust signals like those CQC ratings. But in the world of medical aesthetics, which is driven by brand and desire, the focus shifts completely to visual proof and really strict compliance with advertising standards. And this quote highlights a really fascinating point. Even in a market that seems to be all about looks, strictly following the advertising rules isn't a limitation. It actually becomes your competitive advantage. It builds that clinical credibility, that trust, that turns someone just browsing online into a loyal, high-value patient. So here's the bottom line. The future of private healthcare isn't about who has the biggest marketing budget. Not anymore. It's about data, it's about efficiency, and it's about that surgical precision, aligning every penny of your ad spend perfectly with your clinical capacity and tracking it all the way back to actual booked revenue. And that leaves us with one final, really important question to think about. When healthcare providers can find their ideal customers with this level of scientific accuracy, what does that ultimately mean for the patient, for the NHS, and for the entire future of healthcare in the UK?